Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good evening. Woo! Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits. And I'm going to say that because I'm going to be honest. I have a feeling there's not going to be a lot of people in good spirits. And I mean this in all the goodness of my heart. I'm sitting on the fence. I just want to make that abundantly clear so nobody feels some type of way about anything. Just wanted to give you guys the update about something that is absolutely historical, is all get out. Trump. We are here to talk about Trump. I haven't talked about Trump in a very, very long time. There's a very good reason why I haven't talked about Trump in a very, very long time. But nonetheless, there is some updates, something that just happened, monumental updates. There's been a lot of verdicts over the past 24 to 48 hours. Let me just say that. All right. But I'm going to tell you this. We're here to talk about the information. We're going to sit on the fence as best as we can. And I'm going to let you guys have your conversations in the family chat. All I ask is you guys keep it respectful. That's it. We're here. If it has to be agree to disagree, then we're here to agree to disagree. Okay? Because I know some people feel like this is a witch hunt, and some people feel like this is justice served. I leave that up to you guys. Just please play nice in the sandbox, okay? We don't need to be kicking sand in each other's eyes, all right? The verdict is out here, and it is very shocking. I will say that I'm shocked. I'm going to be real. I am absolutely 110% shocked, just so you guys know, all right? Continuing on. So we got some things we're going to look at. We got some video, some live footage, okay, that we're going to be looking at here very shortly. All right. And we're going to get into all this stuff. Okay. Again, we are here to be kind to each other, regardless what side of the fence you stand on. Okay. Let's talk about this because this is a historical moment. Historical moment. And I could not go live about this. I mean, I dropped everything. I busted my butt back here just so I can be in this purple-ash room to talk to you guys about this. And there's a thing. Does this work for Trump for his run for presidency this year in November? Does this help his move? Or does this demolish his chances of taking home the presidency for the second time? That's the question I think a lot of us are actually wondering here all day long. But let's get into this, guys. So do me a favor, real quick, simple stuff, all right? Hit that like button down below because I'm not the jury. I didn't say anything. I didn't make the verdict. I'm just giving you guys the news. So don't get mad at me. All right? I'm just here to tell you guys something because it is a historical moment. Hit that like button down below. Please hit that reaction button down below. That would greatly be appreciated. Do not forget to hit that follow button if you're watching on other platforms and all that stuff. That would be greatly appreciated. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Go and hit that follow button over there. And please do not forget to crush that subscribe button over on my YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to help out and support the channel, please, by all means, hit that join button down below, become a member, or go over to my Patreon. It's in the ticker down below. Going that way as we speak, patreon.com/The Pascal Show. Okay, guys, let's get into this hamburger. I think a lot of us are a little bit shocked. Okay. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, don't matter. I think a lot of people are just shocked nonetheless. All right. But we have definitely got to talk about this again. Wrong thing. Again, we need to talk about this. All right. We have a verdict in Trump's New York City hush money trial. I mean, he paid off Stormy Daniels. He hid money, he moved things around, so on and so forth. Okay. This man has been found guilty on all 34 charges, all 34 counts of him maneuvering, finessing, and trying to hide money. This is what the jury did. This is after day 2 of deliberations. In day 2, they came up with their own verdict. And that is, he is found guilty on all counts. Now, the thing is okay. I know a lot of people are feeling some type of way about this, and I totally understand. If you are a Trump supporter, this is not great news. But then again, it could be good news. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot to look into. There's a lot to talk about here. All right. And we're going to get straight into it. Okay. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but these are the breaks, guys. All right. He has been found guilty in New York hush money trial. So let's take a look at this quick article. We got a lot of, ABC News live reports and all that stuff that we're going to be taking a gander at and all that. And one of the things that I will say that I think is incredibly important is all of them are asking the same doggone question like I'm asking right now. What effect does this have on his presidential run for this year, for November? Does this hurt or does this help? Some people are looking at this and going, hey, our dude getting street cred. Thug life. You know what I'm saying? And then there's some other people that are going, no, this is a witch hunt. This is unfair. He's an angel. You know what I'm saying? Totally understandable on both sides of the fence. Okay. I have my personal opinions. I'll leave them for later on in the show. But I got questions, though. Nonetheless, I got questiones. So let's take a look at this, guys. All right. And I saw that, Court TV was in the house. What up, Court TV? How you doing? What's up? Thank you so much for showing up and being a part of this historical moment as well. It is pretty crazy. All right. And T, if you are in the house and want to hop on, love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to hop on, I have no problem sending you an email with the link and all that stuff so we can chop it up as a family. All right. Like I said, we talk about a lot of things on this show. Okay. And to me, this is beyond political. All right. To me, this is beyond political. But I know some people will look at this as, a political witch hunt and they're trying to take him down and all that stuff for past things, etc. Like I said, I leave that up to you guys. All right. In your discussions. Okay. But let's get into this. All right. It says Donald Trump was found guilty today, of 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to a adult film star, Stormy Daniels, making him the first former president to become a convicted felon. Crazy, right? The unanimous verdict from the 12-person jury ends a 6-week trial in which prosecutors accused Trump of orchestrating an illegal conspiracy to influence the 2016 presidential election. Now, Trump will have a criminal record as he seeks to become president again. Now, Trump was convicted on all felony counts brought by prosecutors. 34 counts, guys. 34 counts. Okay? As the jury four-person read the verdict, Trump looked toward the jury box. After the four-person finished, the former president stared straight ahead, appearing somewhat red in the face. He's usually like orange in the face, so that's new, right? Then, as the jurors individually confirmed that they agreed with the verdict, he looked back at them. It now falls to Justice Merchan to determine Trump's sentence. That's the other thing, too. I'm very curious as to what will come of this for Trump. Will he serve time? Will he see the inside of a prison cell or not? Quite curious about that, right? But let's go on. The judge scheduled the sentencing for July 11th. just 4 days before the Republican National Convention begins. Falsifying business records carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison. But because the crime is nonviolent and Trump has no prior convictions, any prison time is far from guaranteed. And I think that's very important to know too. He could, and I know that there's still room to appeal. Okay, he's got 30 days to appeal, and it all depends on if that will pass or not, right? But if the judge says, nah, you know, he's looking at some time, it doesn't mean that he's going to be saying, doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to be locked behind bars. Okay? There might be another kind of setup. You never know. But I don't know. I really don't think he's going to be going to jail. I really don't think he's going to prison at all. Obviously, he's got a criminal record now. He's a convicted felon now, right? I mean, unless the appeals and all that stuff. But that's 34 counts, y'all. 34 counts, love. Okay? Merchant could opt instead for home confinement, like house arrest, him walking around with an anklet. You feel me? That's crazy, right? Interesting, okay? Probation or a milder form of supervised release. Now, this is what's really going to be interesting is seeing how whatever happens, if these appeals don't pass, right? He of course he's going to put out appeals. His team, of course, is going to appeal. They have 30 days or so to appeal. If that doesn't stick, and he literally has to do something for his time, it's going to be interesting to see how he conducts things, depending on how long, right? Depending on how long his punishment is, right? What he needs to do, what time is served. If that's from home, or if it's a community service of some sort, or they said probation or a milder form of supervised release. So it does make you wonder, him running for president, right? Him running for president from his home. Imagine that. Depending on how long his sentence would be, right? Imagine him actually trying to run for president from his home. But I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking this is giving him a lot of street cred and a lot of more support than ever before. This is the wild world that we live in the Trump world, right? Because if this was anybody else, if this was any other president, former president, or any president hopeful, this would demolish them. But with Trump, it's opposite day a lot of times. And I mean that with all the respect in the world. It's just something about him, okay, that people really, you know what I mean? Grab and love and show support, right? But let's continue on, all right? They see this and they go, nah, that he's still my president, right? Oh, that just makes him more human. Now I feel I feel him. Bet. You know what I mean? I've been locked up before too, bruh. So now I feel him. He's one of us now. See what I'm saying? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's crazy. But this is what we see now. Okay? So the judge also could impose fines or community service. And I honestly feel we're going to be leaning more towards on the fines part than anything else. I don't see him going and doing, picking up trash on the side of the highway. I really don't see him feeding, giving people food, feeding the homeless or something like that. I don't see that at all. All I see is him out here paying some fines. But hold on real quick. You guys are saying that there is a presser going on. Let's see. Let me see if that's actually true. Let's take a look. I don't see a presser, but hold on.
Rest of the country, listen in on Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney. Of course, prosecutors winning their case against the former president of the United States late today, getting guilty verdicts on all 34 felony counts. Let's listen to Alvin Bragg.
Good evening. First and foremost, I want to thank the jury for its service. Jurors perform a fundamental civic duty. Their service is literally the cornerstone of our judicial system. We should all be thankful for the careful attention that this jury paid to the evidence and the law and their time and commitment over these past several weeks. 12 everyday New Yorkers, and of course, our alternates, heard testimony from 22 witnesses, including former and current employees of the defendant, media executives, book publishers, custodians of records, and others. They reviewed call logs, text messages, and emails. They heard recordings. They saw checks and invoices, bank statements, and calendar appointments. This type of white-collar prosecution is core to what we do at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. In the 1930s, District Attorney Thomas Dewey ushered in the era of the modern, independent professional prosecutor. For now nearly 90 years, dedicated professionals in this office have built upon that fine tradition. A major part of our practice during that nearly 90 years has been public integrity work, including cases involving jurists, local and state electeds, public servants, and others. I want to thank this phenomenal prosecution team, embodying the finest traditions of this office.
Thanking the team behind him, the prosecutors who won this case, but primarily opening by thanking the 12 everyday New Yorkers, in his words, who served this case. Alvin Bragg here in New York. For those of you watching World News, we'll have more on this harrowing scene in New York City, a machete attack in Times Square that's coming up in a moment. And for the rest of the country, we'll see you a little later for World News.
Okay, so hold on real quick.
Special report from ABC.
Okay. Hold on. Dag nabbit. All right. Because I'm rolling this back because there's a lot going on in this that we are going to look at. I have it rolled back. Like I said, I got this, a little bit of a setup. You know what I'm saying? I got these things a little different. You feel me? So we can watch things live. I know we not much of an upgrade, be real, but at the same time, we trying something new. Okay, or we've been trying something new, and so far it's working out so far. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of y'all feel some type of way about this, and understandably, y'all feel some type of way about this. Whether it is you're on the side of this is justice being served, or if you think justice has not been served, then this is just a full-on witch hunt and it's ridiculous. Trust me, I know how both sides feel. Okay. And I've heard both sides. Okay. We've covered so much political mess in the past on this channel. And so I've heard many different sides and many different opinions about things revolving around Trump, revolving around all of this. Okay. Everything to the craziness that happened in January, if you know what I'm talking about, to the election, to just everything. Okay. So I get it. I fully get both, like what you guys are feeling on both sides of the fence. And like I said, sitting on the fence is not comfortable, right? But it's interesting because at the end of the day, this is somebody who has been convicted. He has been found guilty. Now, sure, he can appeal. Will it pass? Will he be able to, maneuver these things around in a way so that he's not a convicted felon? I don't think so. I feel like the damage is done. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like the damage is done. What's done is done here. Okay. But now the main question that even S. Dubs just said it, and I saw it in the corner of my eye, how can he successfully run for president now that he is a convicted felon? And I know that some people will look at this and go, yo, he Tupac now. Straight up, people are going to be wearing his mugshot on T-shirts. Watch. He more gangster than Tupac. He more Suge Knight than Suge Knight. He more Diddy. Well, not Diddy. Diddy's bad. That's a bad one. But you know what I'm saying. Okay? He more gangster than the gangsterest person in gangster land. You see what I'm saying? So does this street cred give him more love? Is he officially invited to the cookouts in inner cities for life now? I'm wondering if like Rick Ross is standing next to him. Oh, you know what I mean? I'm just waiting for that. I'm waiting for the craziness. I'm waiting for the circus. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. Okay, that's just a question that I have, right? I don't know. Even Brenda just said it's going to get ugly. I don't know if it's going to get ugly. I just feel like it's going to be, the land of grifting. And there's a lot of people not happy with the Biden. That's a whole other conversation in itself. So this is going to be very interesting. So let's take a look at this. Okay, we're still looking at this article, and then we're going to go into this video. I promise we are going to be taking a look at this very, very soon. I promise, because there's a lot that he says in the very beginning, explaining everything, all 34 counts, etc., and all that, right? But let's take a little bit more of a look at the rest of this. So Trump is certain to appeal the verdict, which we all expect him to do, of course, a process that could take many months or even years. Meanwhile, he stands accused of additional wide-ranging criminal conduct in 3 other cases, 2 for subverting the 2020, election results, and 1 for hoarding classified documents after he left office. But none of those cases appears likely to go to trial before Election Day. All right. So, despite its historical nature, there is scant evidence that Trump's conviction in the hush money case will drastically alter his prospects in the 2024 race. He has a small lead over President Joe Biden, in many swing state polls, and a lead, that held steady throughout the trial. One reason for the likely lack of fallout is that the payoff at the center of the case and the events surrounding it have long been publicly known. The Wall Street Journal first revealed them in 2018, and since the trial has not been televised, the details of the legal proceedings have remained opaque to many voters. Recent polls have shown that most Americans saw the hush money case as less serious than Trump's other 3. So, a university poll conducted in mid-May found that 46% of respondents believed Trump had done something illegal in the hush money payment case. 29% said that he had done something unethical but not illegal, and 21% said he did nothing wrong. Trump's allies in the GOP stuck by him throughout the trial, a rotating cast of elected Republicans and other surrogates joined him at the lower Manhattan courthouse most days. Now, the thing is, of course, the jury, let me just get into this part here really quick. So the jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberated for a day and a half before issuing its guilty verdict. So a full day, then they did half a day, and by lunchtime, they figured out what the verdict was going to be. And I will say this, for something so big, for something to be 34 counts, again, it's 34 counts, guys. That's a short amount of time. That's a quick turnaround. So whatever prosecution did, they were able to present whatever it was, and it was a strong argument. That's just, unfortunately, that is just how the cookie crumbles up in this mug. Okay? Interesting, though, nonetheless. So the jury of, okay, so these 11, all right, got together. And I'm sorry, 12, these 12 got together, and a day and a half, they were able to issue a guilty verdict. The panel found that Trump falsified business documents that reflected a series of payments he made to his former lawyer, Michael Cohen. Those payments reimbursed Cohen for $130,000 in hush money that he sent to adult film star Stormy Daniels 12 days before the 2016 election. At the time, Daniels was threatening to go public with her account of having had relations with Trump a decade earlier. You know what I got to say about that? Let me just say this, okay? If you are out here, you about to be out here, okay? You about to be out here doing your thing. You're about to run, or the election's about to come up. You're sitting there, you're battling like crazy. You're doing what you do. Let's not forget, you're Trump. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an adult film star comes up to you and says, I'm going to expose you and let everybody know that we did the hibbity-dibbity a decade ago while you were married and all that stuff. I'm telling you right now, no one would care. I'm going to say it. No one would care. So why do $130,000 in trying to keep her quiet? Who cares? You realize how much he's done in his track record? We already know he's been out here. You know what I'm saying? We already know he's been out here. He was a reality show celebrity. His name is Trump. He's stamped his name on so many different things. It doesn't matter. If people found out that he was out here bumping uglies with an adult film star back in the day, no one would care. No one would care. So to me, I go, why put out 130 racks to keep this woman quiet, only for it to come back and bite you in the butt? You see what I'm saying? Like I said, I just have questions. That's all. I just got questions. When we already know how he operates, okay? We already know, you see what I'm saying? Listen, he's getting hit with 34 counts, right? He's been convicted. Now he is a convicted felon. Do you really think that's going to change people from his hardcore, diehard supporters? Do you really think that's going to stop people from actually voting for him? I can answer that for you guys. Hell to the no. They're not going to hiccup. They're going to be like, boop, still voting for him. It's not going to change anything. You see what I'm saying? He's still in the world of he could do no wrong. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm like, if he was to be exposed by this adult film star, what damage would that do for his 2016 presidential run? Probably nothing at all. It'd be a blip on the radar. Everybody would know about it. It'd be content for YouTubers and political pundits to talk about it. And then election would come up and he'd still run. He'd still do his thing. You see what I'm saying? It'd still be the end result. What happened, right? I'm just saying. It's not changing anything. Okay. Trump, with Cohen as the middleman, struck a non-disclosure deal with Daniels to ensure her claims didn't damage his White House bid. But when Trump later reimbursed Cohen, he falsely designated the money as legal expenses in his company's books. Prosecutors from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office charged Trump with 34 felony counts, accusing him of falsifying 11 invoice records, 12 general ledger entries, and 11 checks. And a partridge in a... I'm kidding. Some of which were signed by Trump with a black Sharpie. In order to find Trump guilty, the jury had to conclude, beyond a reasonable doubt, not only that Trump falsified the records with a fraudulent intent, but also that Trump did so to commit or conceal another crime. That underlying crime, prosecutors argued, was a violation of a New York State election law that prohibits conspiring to promote a candidate by quote unquote unlawful means. The hush money to Daniels, prosecutors said, was unlawful because it violated campaign finance laws. And they said Trump's reimbursement agreement to Cohen violated tax laws as well. Now, we already know that he denied any of this wrongdoing and long described the case as a quote unquote sham, even before he was indicted in the spring of 2023. The former president claimed that the investigation was politically motivated. Early in the trial, he accused the jurors of being 95% Democrats. Interesting. He spent months railing against the judge, quote unquote, a tyrant. I guess that's what he was calling him, the judge. And the elected Democratic prosecutor who brought the case, which we just heard from, Alvin Bragg. He was calling him an animal. And he repeatedly attacked witnesses in the case, violating a gag order 10 times and earning himself 2 contempt findings, $10,000 in fines, and a threat of jail. Very interesting. Okay. Very, very interesting. Listen, this is obviously, it is a pretty crazy case to begin with. It is pretty wild nonetheless, right? But we are, and my dog agrees. He's like, this is messed up, right? It is a circus. And I can see that for sure. Okay. I could definitely see that as a circus. But nonetheless, he has been found guilty. So I want to share with you guys, okay? We got some things we got to take a look at. There's some things that have already happened. You know what I mean? The information of this, this verdict being dropped, etc. But I wanted to share and watch with you guys some of this footage. And everybody, let's play nice. Let's be nice with each other. All that stuff. Mandy, thank you so much. Your mods are here abusing the wrenches. I simply said that that felons can indeed vote as long as we are not on probation or parole and was placed in timeout. I don't know. Maybe it was a slip. Maybe it was slippage, Mandy. Okay. But we are all good here as long as you're not saying anything rude or, running your mouth, starting fights for no reason. As long as we keep it respectful, we should all be good and have a holly jolly Christmas. Immortal Badass, thank you so much for being a member for the past 38 months, man. Woo! Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for your support, man. Dang. Have a peaceful, wonderful day. I think we all need to hear that because I know a lot of people are like, man, I need a drink. Some people are upset about this, and I understand. But at the same time, remember, hey, he has 30 days. If you're on the side of, you feel like this was unjust, he has 30 days to appeal, okay? And we'll see if that actually has any weight, right? So, yes, we should all go and have a wonderful holly jolly Christmas. Why do I have Christmas in my head? I think it's because I did Partridge in the Pear Tree. But yes, we should all be just, hearing the information, consuming it, and letting it be what it is. Okay. Because at the end of the day, it's the bed I guess he made for himself, whether it's a witch hunt or not. I guess this is just the breadcrumbs led down this road, unfortunately. Welcome, Catherine Johnson, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. And just like Catherine, please consider becoming a family member by hitting that join button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. Angela, thank you so much for the support. This is a huge moment in our country. Abso-freaking-lutely. Are you crazy to think I would not cover this historical moment? This is a historical moment in our country. The first time ever a former president has ever become a convicted felon. This is huge, guys. Whether we like to hear it or not, okay? Whether you believe he deserves it or not, still shocking information indeed. Tyler, thank you so much for being the member for over a year. Thank you so much. I'm biased. I am happy about this, though you probably already know, LOL. I wish everyone in power face this kind of accountability too. You know what? I agree with this message 110%. Somebody else said that in the chat as well, that like this whole thing that's gone down, I wonder if could this be a warning call for all other people in political power or not? Because I feel like this should be a tiny bit of a wake-up call for other entities, for other candidates and etc. that have done the same doggone thing, and I'm sure they have. Okay, I'm sure they have for sure. All right, Vinox Liebe. I hopefully I'm saying that correct. Lieb. All right. Guten Morgen. Guten Nacht. I think that's German. But anyway, love that you're going live with it. Most content creators are scared to report about it. Yep. And it doesn't make any sense. It's the news. You know what really drives me crazy is because it sucks when you're talking about certain things like this and it's not the greatest of news and you are you're given this. For some people, it's bad news, and some people are cheersing to this and saying, he's getting exactly what he deserves. And I leave that to you guys. But it is really frustrating because I look at like ABC, News Nation, CNN, NBC, all these huge news networks covering the same thing, and they don't get half the flack. Well, it's also because they don't hear the reaction. They don't have a chat room and they're listening and reading the chats, right? But it's interesting when you're a talking head like this guy, right? Like you're a news reporter, a talking head, you're breaking the news, you're letting people know what's going on, and they're not flipping the bird to this guy. He's just telling the news. It's the same thing with me. Only difference is I don't have a $3,000 tailored suit on and I'm wearing a baseball cap right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you getting mad at me? I didn't do nothing. I'm just here to talk about it because it's a huge moment in time. And I feel that most people, most content creators should have the balls, the guts, the cojones, the ovaries, whatever you want to call it, okay, to talk about these situations and cover what's going on in the world, regardless if it upsets somebody or not. This is part of life. It's not only just true crime in the world. This is still crime. This is still in that true crime world. Yes, I know it's not the kidnapping or murder or anything like that, but there's still crimes that he's been convicted of doing here. You see what I'm saying? Don't blame the messenger, because there's plenty of other people out here that are covering the same stuff. They just get paid big dollars to be on these huge networks talking about this ish. So speaking of that, let's take a look at this. Okay, we got to take a look at this. Okay. Yes, Toro. I said ovaries. You know what I mean? You got to have the balls, the ovaries, the guts. You know what I'm saying? To talk about this stuff, because this is important too. This is going on in our world. Okay. our world, not just only in our country. This is happening in our world. It's pretty crazy stuff. So let's take a look at this. Like I said, we're going to be scrolling through this whole live here because there's a lot going on. All right. Do me a favor. Yes, carbonize the stones. You know what I mean? The cojones. Yes, the stones to get through and talk about this ish. So do me a favor real quick. You know your boy's working hard out here in these streets. We talk about everything from true crime to pop culture. We tickle on a little peppering of political, but this is still part of pop culture. This is huge. Okay? So if you appreciate me covering this and all that, please do me that favor. Regardless if this news makes you happy or not, please hit that like button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button, please, and thank you. Of course, hit that reaction button on all these other platforms. All right? And follow as well. Let's get into this. Let's hear a little bit of what ABC has to say about this verdict.
To the jury, and this was just hours after he had instructed them on jury instructions to begin with. So when we were talking on the air about the potential for any daylight between some of the jurors, it would appear whatever dissension there might have been clearly has been taken care of over the course of just 2 days. And what does that tell you from covering so many of these cases?
Well, look, this is a unanimous verdict. You needed a unanimous verdict. 11-1 for conviction or 11-1 for acquittal would be a hung jury. But remember, and we talked about this last night, was that New York has a kind of quirky interpretation of law, that in most cases, the vast majority of cases, the jurors don't get to bring with them the jury instructions back into the jury room. In most states, in federal court, you give the jurors the jury instructions.
Dan, let me just interrupt you. Let me interrupt you right there. They didn't get a copy of the jury instructions, which is why they asked for them to be read back. Dan can elaborate on that in a moment. I do want to let the audience know that Judge Juan Merchan back in that courtroom. Of course, no cameras in the court, which you are well aware of from our coverage, weeks now of our coverage. The judge back in that courtroom, set to bring the jury back into the courtroom as well to deliver this verdict. Again, you can't say it enough that this is an historic moment for the country because we have never witnessed a criminal trial of a former president of the United States. The president, Donald Trump, the former president in that courtroom too. Our reporters there in the courtroom and in what we call the overflow room, given eyes and ears on the court for us, reporting in that Donald Trump is sitting at the defense table, his arms very tightly crossed. They describe him as stone-faced, nodding as his attorney whispers into his ear. And as you know, after weeks of coverage, that there is a courtroom where they allow reporters to go in to witness the proceedings for the entire day. Our team has been in there every single day, right there along with the former president. And John Carl, you are one of the correspondents who has spent time in that courtroom. It must be a surreal scene, not only for the jurors who must decide a former president's fate, but for the former president himself. And we heard about this in closing arguments, that not only did the defense make its case, the prosecution make its case directly, aiming their arguments, their closings at the jury, but almost the entire time, the former president looking over at that jury too, studying those jurors' faces. And John, I apologize in advance if I have to interrupt you, but an extraordinary scene over these last several days inside that courtroom.
I mean, David, a scene unlike any we have seen in American history. A former president of the United States, and not just a former president of the United States, but a current candidate for president of the United States, again, sitting just, feet away from the jury that would decide his fate. And he can see perfectly clear their expressions as they're hearing the key witnesses, as they're hearing the key evidence. And when the jury walks in, the entire court must stand up, and the jury walks right in front of Donald Trump and his legal team and the prosecutors on their way to the jury box. And it was interesting. I was in there for two very critical days of testimony, Michael Cohen testifying, obviously the central witness in this case. And for the most part, the jurors avoid eye contact with Donald Trump as they pass right in front of him and sit in that jury box.
And John Carl, we've just been told by our reporters who are there in the courtroom today, John, we'll get back to you, that the former president, Donald Trump, did stand as the judge entered that courtroom, fixing his jacket, taking a deep breath in the courtroom for those who can see him, able to witness that. One of our reporters down there on the scene reporting that suddenly there are many more court officers in the room. Secret Service supervisor standing in the back of that room. As you know, any court case here in New York involves a significant amount of security. This is unprecedented. There has been security there every single day of this trial. And many of these officers, when asked previously, when do you get to go home? They are there for the entirety of these days, these proceedings. So even yesterday, for example, after the jurors left for the day, both sides, the defense, the prosecution, had to agree on the kind of testimony that would be reread back to the jurors. Those requests made by that jury, that those officers, everybody in that court responsible for keeping the courtroom safe would stay into the evening, along with the court reporters who would then have to read this testimony back. That's what played out this morning.
Wow.
Court reporters reading back the testimony that had been agreed upon by both sides, the defense and the prosecution. And then the judge, we knew Judge Juan Merchan would ask the jury, do you want all of the jury instructions read back to you or particular instructions? And that was how he was able to zero in, laser in on what it is they were looking for to have read back to them. I want to bring in Aaron Katersky again, live outside the courthouse. Aaron, it's our understanding the judge back in that courtroom, Donald Trump standing as the judge entered the court. What do we know about the jury at this point?
The jury has just entered the courtroom, David, filing right past former President Trump on their way in. Most of the jurors appeared to avoid eye contact as they took their seats in the jury box. The judge is now formally reading into the record.
Stand by, Aaron. Stand by. We are learning right now, Aaron, the foreperson is standing in that courtroom. Let's wait for reporting from inside the courtroom. The control room listening to this very closely. Aaron, you are as well from our team inside the courtroom. And in the overflow, the verdict is now being read. As you can see on the screen, count one, guilty. Count two, the former president found guilty. Count three, crazy. We await count four here.
Oh, boy.
As you can see, the first three counts, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, found guilty of 3 felony counts so far. The foreperson in that courtroom. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Count 6, guilty. As we continue to enter in what we're learning from the courtroom, it's our belief that first 19 counts, I'm being told, the former president has been found guilty of. Counts 20 through 23 found guilty as well. So correct me, control room, all the way through count 23 now found.
Now I just want to, sorry, there's a little bit of echo. I'm going to mute it really quick. Imagine, because this is obviously a replay, just so you guys know. This has already happened. We already know what the verdict is, okay? He has been found guilty on all 34 counts, but imagine being on the receiving end of this conversation that he's getting through his IFB, through his earbud, right? And he's hearing these counts live on the show. Imagine that. That's insane. Because I didn't hear about it until my boy T sent me a text being like, yo, you heard about this verdict? And I was like, wait a second, it's out already, bro? And so I looked up, I typed in, the Trump verdict, and then it said guilty on 34. I was like, what? Man, I almost ran off the road. Like, I was so shocked. Real talk. Absolutely shocked. Okay. So imagine being on the receiving end of this ish. This is crazy, but let me continue on. Let's watch the rest.
Found guilty. We are now up to count 26 and count 27 found guilty as well. So again, I'm going to pause here. He's been found guilty, 31 counts now of guilty, as we wait for the graphic to catch up to the reporting coming from the courthouse. Count 33 and counts 34 coming in right now. Guilty on all counts. This jury in New York City, a jury of his peers, finding the former president guilty on every single felony count brought against him by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Aaron Katursky outside the courthouse. Let's go to you for first reaction.
An incredible verdict on this day in May, late May. The former president of the United States convicted as charged. 34 counts of falsifying business records. And David, as the crowd outside this courthouse found out, a big cheer went up from opponents of the former president who had been massing in the park across the street from the courthouse. Just a whooping cheer, and they continue to make a lot of noise. There have been supporters of the former president here as well. It looks like many of them are hanging in there, but are remaining silent as the former president has been convicted on all 34 counts of falsifying business records, meaning, David, the jury believed the Manhattan District Attorney's theory of the case that the former president falsified these records to cover up a conspiracy to corrupt the 2016 election by hiding lewd stories from his past. David?
Aaron, as we know, the instructions from the judge in this case, Juan Merchan, telling that jury that they could not convict solely on the testimony of Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's longtime former fixer, friend, and attorney, that there must be corroborating evidence in this case that they also believe in coming up with any sort of verdict. I glean from that then in the discussions within that jury room, and we will learn more in the days ahead, that they then pointed to other evidence. And we know about the request that they look at testimony from David Pecker, for example, to be reread back to them this morning, that is the kind of corroborating evidence that they must have leaned in on to come up with 34 guilty findings on every count here. The former president found guilty as we're on the...
Listen, obviously, you know, this is all very shocking information. Obviously, everyone's still reeling from this in any type of way. If you're on the side of yay or if you're on the side of boo, I think everybody's very, very shocked, right? But I think this also goes to show to you that hopefully this means there will be concerns for other political parties or other political entities, you know, individuals and whatnot, to be very careful on how they maneuver out here in these streets. Real talk. Okay. That's just kind of how I see it. You know, again, this could be a one and done. I don't know. I know he's facing he could be looking at two other or three other, if I remember reading that correctly, three other trials. Okay. Three other things. Maybe those things are going to be a big deal. I don't know, you know, but given the fact that he is found guilty on 34 counts is a big deal. Now, here's the thing. He could still appeal those things, but will that actually help? That's the question. And then, of course, if he has to do house arrest or if he has to do time in prison, I don't think he's going to be doing time in prison. I don't think it's going to get that extreme. I really don't. I think he's just going to pay. He's going to have to pay some massive thing, right? He's going to have to pay some massive fine. Sorry, had a brain fart, but he'll pay some massive fine and it'll just be what it is. Okay. It'll be just what it is. I don't think this, and I said I was going to say my opinion at the end of this or near the end of this. I don't think that this is going to tarnish his campaign at all whatsoever. Sure. During the campaign, I'm sure Biden's going to be using his mugshot on everything. And the whole time, they're going to be like, are you sure you want to vote for a convicted felon? You know what I mean? It's going to be their thing. They're going to be slinging mud left and right and all that stuff. But is it going to change anything? I'm telling you right now, this gives Trump street cred. People are going to be riding with him even more. If that's the sympathy vote, or if they just go, hey, man, you just like me. You're just a normal dude just getting locked up. Bet. Now I feel even closer to him, you know, because he's willing to do dirty. People out here are going to find angles in some ways to justify what has happened here for their own minds, to solidify why they are voting for him even more. And I'm telling you right now, too, okay, regardless of what side you sit on, if you're Biden or Trump or anything of that sort, those are the only two options we got so far, unless something drastically happens between now and November. But I don't think that's ever going to be happening. Okay? Like Biden ain't going to be stepping down, and Trump for sure ain't stepping down. Something drastically big would have to happen. Okay? Something drastically big would have to happen for them to go, okay, you know, due to everything, I have to step down, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see that happening anytime soon. And I'll tell you what, Lee Bird just said this too. The debate is coming soon. I can't wait. It's going to be something worth watch. It's going to be something worth the watch. That's what I was trying to say. It definitely will be. Okay. This debate will be interesting because you know for a fact it'll be the one thing that Biden, at least in Biden's camp, has in their back pocket that they're just going to keep on slinging at Trump. And I think Trump, who I believe is the king of spin, that's what I really think, okay? With all due respect, that's not a diss. It's worked in his favor for a very, very long time. I feel like he's going to be able to use this in a way to spin things around to make things a little bit smoother for him for this upcoming election. That's just what I think. All right. But again, I still wonder, and I ask you guys, what say you? Do you think that this is going to change the trajectory of the election for Trump now that he's a convicted felon? I'm quite curious. Let's hear what Dan Abrams has to say. He's on ABC right now. Let's take a listen. Let's take a listen, shall we?
Either there's going to be an acquittal, there'll be a hung jury, or they'll be guilty on all charges. It would have been surprising if the jurors had split the verdicts because it's really all basically the same set of facts. It's just a question of which ledger and which check. So either you believe it or you don't. And so the fact that it's 34, we have to be careful here, right? Let's not overstate what that means. Because, for example, when it comes to sentencing, it's not as if the sentence is going to involve 34 counts where each count ends up being served consecutively. There is almost
I'm curious too.
Whatever sentence happens here, the sentence will be concurrent, meaning all of it will be served at the same time for the 34. So in effect,
talk about a sentence.
Yeah.
Let me stop you right there because viewers at home are going to ask immediately, what does this mean? Could the former president be sentenced to potential time behind bars? We know there is the potential for that, though extremely unlikely for a first-time offender, correct?
I think it is unlikely. This is the lowest level felony in the state of New York. We talk about misdemeanors versus felonies, but there's also different levels of felony. This is the Class E felony, the lowest kind. Donald Trump has never been convicted of a crime before. I think as a result, it is unlikely, not impossible, that he would be sentenced to prison time in connection with this case. There are other options, right? There is probation. I think the other potential option could be home confinement. Can you imagine that? And in an effort, if it were to happen before the election, someone who wants to be out on the campaign trail. Again, I think any serving of a sentence, though, very unlikely to happen before the election. A number of things will happen first. First, he'll do an interview with the probation department. That is typical in any case. You have a meeting where you talk to he's going to have this meeting with a probation officer because the probation department then recommends what sentence they think the person ought to get. And then number two is a sentencing happen weeks, months ahead. There's going to be appeals in this case, et cetera. So I think that the actual serving of the sentence, whatever it is probably some time away.
Some time away, Judge Juan Merchan will take into account whatever the probation officer suggests after this meeting that you say.
Hold on real quick. First off, I want to say, Dan Abrams coming in correct with the info. And of course, this is what he says. This is the procedure in which things will happen from this moment on, right? He will be interviewed. He could possibly be. He'll be interviewed by the probation committee or whatever probation. But at the same time, he said it just like we just talked about it a second ago in that article. He could spend time. He could spend time behind bars. There's still that possibility. I don't think it will be, but there's still that possibility. That's still on the table. Then there is house arrest. Then there's community service. Then there's paying a hefty fine. Maybe it's a combination of those things too. It could be, a fine with him doing community service, or a fine with him, doing a stint with an anklet where he's not allowed to leave his Trump Towers or something like that. Imagine that, right? Imagine that. It's all a possibility here. All of them. All these things are still on the table, whether we want to hear that or not. Those are all possibilities right on the table. And, Dan Abrams is just coming correct with the info. You know what I mean? But let's continue with more, because I'm very curious to hear what he has to say about all this too.
You say will take place regardless of whether you're sitting across from somebody who does what you and I do, or somebody who works in sort of any sector here in New York City and beyond. But this is the former president of the United States who will also have to sit across from this probation officer. How soon would we then hear from Judge Juan Merchan what the sentence will be?
So I think that we're going to see when the sentencing date is set, right? So we're watching some people.
Good question, Zoot.
Donald Trump was expected to be able to leave the courtroom today. Of course, as Dan mentioned, the sentencing will not come for many weeks here, not expected, certainly. We are expecting the former president to leave the courthouse. Have we seen him in front of the camera yet? We have not seen him yet, as we know that he generally addresses reporters when he comes out of the courtroom. There's no promise here that he will today.
He allegedly does address, so we're going to get straight to that real quick, because I do have that video. Let me just pull this up for you guys so we can see this as a family. He did come out and he did speak out. And this is really crappy quality, but I'm going to share it with you guys anyway. Let's take a look at what he had to say. I haven't heard this yet, so let's see what he says here.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but this has nothing to do with his verdict. Just so you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just saying right now he just veered off into a whole other thing that has nothing to do with the verdict. He's not reacting to the verdict anymore. Hold on. I'm rolling that back a little bit. I'm just saying it. I'm sorry, guys. I love all y'all. Whatever side of the spectrum you are on, if you're pro-Trump or not pro-Trump, I'm just calling it like it is, okay? He's saying something that has nothing to do with the actual. It's like this is an opportunity. Let me just let him speak. Let me just let him talk his talk. All right, I rolled that back. All right, but that's very interesting. Okay, again. And yes, Brenda, he did respond saying it's a joke, but then he could have just kept it moving. After that, be done. You know what I mean? Say what you need to say and walk on. But now he's turning it into something political. You see what I'm saying? Instead of being like, we're going to fight this, you know, it was a witch hunt. It's unfair. The verdict is wrong. And we're going to keep fighting for this. Turn around and get into your motorcade. You see what I'm saying? But again, you know, just saying.
Decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble, but this was a rigged decision right from day one with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Okay. And of course, you know, everybody wants to have him say more and all that. But again, what I'm saying is what he says here, the verdict, however you guys see it, okay? Yes, part of it a bunch of it has to do with his political run and all that. But at the same time, these are still crimes that were committed that he's been convicted of. Instead of him actually talking about those things and saying it's wrong, it's, you know, this is a witch hunt, this is BS, we're going to fight for the, you know, fight this verdict, and you know, we're not going to let down, we're not going to back down, or whatever the heck he says. Just be done with that and keep it moving. But then he spins it into something else. And again, I get it. He wants to get people, you know, he wants to get to his people. And, you know, he knows, like I said, he's good at the spin. He's very good at the spin. With all due respect, he's very good at the spin. Okay. I'm sorry, but he is. Okay. He may sue. You never know. He may sue the judge. If he really does think that it's that it was all a rigged thing, right? There's a good possibility that happens. You never know. But like I said, he's very good at the spin. We all can agree with that. Or at least I hope we can all agree on that. Okay. I mean, he does that. You know what I mean? He's good at spinning. Period. This was not the time to talk about border control or anything of that sort. This was the time to talk about his verdict. That's how I see it. Plenty of time to get on the podium and talk about border control, money, taxes, etc., and all the other things that he wants to talk about. Everyone wanted to hear what he had to say about the verdict. That's it. And I'm telling you right now, it's not going to change anything in my personal opinion. It's not. This is emboldening his people even more. It's making people latch onto him even stronger, even harder to support him and vote for him in 2024. That's just how I see it. Okay. Whether he has an anklet on or he's doing this all via a video chat from his Trump Tower's living room. Okay. Doesn't matter. People are going to be leaning in on him hard, even more now, because now he's got street cred. But let's take a listen to a little bit more of this. All right.
Decision and immediately turning to the race for president, saying the real verdict will come on November 5th from the American people. He went on to say, I'm a very innocent man, and again, called the whole process rigged. John Carl, our chief Washington correspondent. John, not surprising here that there would be an immediate pivot now to November.
No, and not surprising at all. And Donald Trump will do what he's done when he was indicted in this case and in 3 other cases, which is say that this is a politically charged effort to hurt his campaign for president. The question is, Donald Trump is now a convicted felon. Will that affect how voters will view him? And we have seen a lot of polling, including one of our ABC News polls just in the past month, that suggests that upwards of 20% of people who have said that they plan to vote for Donald Trump for president would reconsider whether or not they would vote for him if he were in fact convicted of a felony. So the question is, now that he has been convicted of a felony by a duly charged jury, will those voters who have been solidly for him now reconsider whether or not they still want to vote for Donald Trump to be president of the United States again, now that he is a convicted felon? Again, the polling suggests that at least a significant percentage, roughly 1/5 of those voters, will reconsider that. Now that it's out there, we'll see.
John, stick with us here. We want to go full to this WABC picture from our station here in New York City, Channel 7, with live pictures over the courthouse here in Lower Manhattan. Donald Trump, the former president, obviously expected to leave the courthouse. Significant security, not both because it's the New York State criminal court, but also Secret Service, and they had been prepared for any possibility here. Though he leaves today, obviously a free man. We know that the sentencing will be July 11th, which I believe is 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention. John Karl hits a very important point politically, and which is the central question of whether or not this changes the dynamic in the race for president in this country. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here on that, but as you know, we've been reporting for many weeks now, this race, even though we are still very early on, is a very close race in this country. They are within a point or two of one another, President Biden and former President Trump, as the country takes a deep breath and prepares itself for a rematch. The polling consistently shows that the American people did not want these two to play this out all over again in front of the country, but that is where we're headed. And now, what John Karl brings up is whether or not this shifts the dynamic at all. Of course, some political pundits will say this was sort of baked in, that Donald Trump supporters had been bracing for anything here, that it won't change the dynamic at all, if much at all, for those who are loyal Donald Trump supporters. And the question, though, given how tight the race is, this is going to be a presidential race. Most observers say that will be decided at the margins. It's very, very close. So even if it changes the minds of people in the very middle, independent voters who don't like their choices, for example, that's going to be something that is really studied in the days and weeks ahead, and how the political arguments might shift. We heard from Donald Trump here moments ago that he immediately is pivoting to the November election, saying that that is when the true verdict will be delivered in this country, that verdict by the American people when they vote in this presidential race. Mary Bruce, our chief White House correspondent, obviously covering any reaction from the White House, any reaction from President Biden. Has the Biden campaign engaged at all on the news just moments ago that the former president, for the first time in history, has been found guilty on 34 felony counts?
David, we are still awaiting any kind of official response from the campaign, though our team has heard that there were cheers inside the Biden headquarters in Wilmington as the verdict was read. Look, President Biden has been very careful in the last weeks not to comment on this trial. That, I have been told, will now change now that we have a verdict. Obviously, these guilty verdicts are a political gift to Democrats, a political gift to the president. He is now running against a convicted felon. But don't expect the president to completely upend his campaign messaging because of this, I am told. This verdict is not now going to somehow become the centerpiece of his messaging to the American people. The Biden team is very well aware of former President Trump's argument, as we just heard, his claims that this is all somehow rigged. The president doesn't want to be overly celebratory and feed in to that narrative that this was somehow a witch hunt concocted by President Biden. He has been adamant that he had nothing to do with this. He has said that he has never had a single conversation with anyone in his administration, with the Justice Department, anyone about Donald Trump's legal troubles. What you can expect the president do, though, is to continue to argue that Donald Trump, he believes, is unfit to serve, and he will make the argument that ultimately it is up to voters to decide Donald Trump's future, because as we have been noted, even if he does face any kind of prison time, that is likely, unlikely, but even if it does happen, not likely to happen, certainly before an election. And so the president is going to make the argument that this ultimately comes down to the ballot.
With just a few seconds here, Mary, before I turn back to our courtroom reporters, President Biden has very rarely even addressed the fact that this criminal trial was taking place. At times, you would report that he would say something along the lines of his opponent is tied up today, a sort of nod to a nudge, if you will, to the Trump campaign about what was playing out here in New York City. But other than that, there has been very little said about this criminal trial.
Yeah, he would subtly needle his opponent over this, right? We all recall when he had challenged him to that debate saying, you know, I hear you're free on Wednesdays, which was the day that obviously court was not in session. But beyond that sort of subtle jabbing and not so subtle sort of jokes, you didn't hear the president really comment on the substance much because he wanted to keep his distance, because he didn't want to feed into that narrative that Trump and his supporters have been pushing, that this is all a political hit job. The president is going to react to this, I am told. The question is how he does it, in what form, and how, you know, fiercely and forcefully he now brings this up on the campaign trail going forward. Just how much.
I am actually kind of oops, sorry, let me mute that. I am actually kind of curious about that too. How are things going to be addressed from this point on? Because somebody even asked in the chat, because I got another thing pulled up, so I want to make sure that I keep this, because there's one piece here, a comment that somebody said that I think is very important, that we all kind of bring with us to every piece and aspect of this conversation, because I really don't understand why people are so angry, right? Like at the chat or at this show. Like I said, hey, I understand that you're upset. Okay, I understand there's certain people that are on a certain sides of the spectrum that are going to feel some type of way, but at the same time, I'm not Trump. I'm not the person who prosecuted him. I'm not Alvin Bragg. I am not the judge. I'm not the jury. I'm not the person who said that he was found guilty. I am just somebody who is giving the information out here. Okay. And we are here to have a conversation, an open conversation about these things. And I think that's very important, very important. You know, and I understand there's plenty other platforms that have that echo chamber. And I mean, by all means, if that's what you want, then I highly recommend you go find that with all the love in my heart. But we are here to have a discussion and have a conversation about this so we understand things a little bit better, regardless what side of this fence you are on. I'm not doing cartwheels. I'm not popping champagne, nor am I sitting here going, oh, shoot, kicking the dirt and angry. No, I want to understand what's going on so we understand what's going to happen in the next couple months. This has to do with what's going on in our country, period, point blank, no matter what side you are on. So everyone needs to calm. Tranquilo, please. Calm down. Calm down. Okay? And I say that with all the love in my heart. All right? But someone did say, Tracy said this too. Can you please explain why a convicted felon can even run for president? I'm Australian, so I don't know how Americans run the presidential election. Now, that's a very good question, Tracy. Right? That's something that I even would like to know a little bit more about as well. Maybe, hopefully, I'll be able to bring an expert on to talk about that a little bit further, because that's something I don't know about. Really, I don't. And I want to know really, really bad. Okay? I really, really do. But this is a part that I think is very important for us to read here too. Okay? Because I know Carbonize has their opinion as well as everybody else has their opinions. Okay, we're all entitled to have to feel how we feel, and I agree with what Carbonize is saying here. You're not entitled to take it out on others. There's no point in doing that. What is it doing? It's not changing anything. It's not changing what happened here. It's not changing the verdict. So everyone, chill. Those with power want to use the hate, use hate, or use to hate one another. Don't let them. We don't have to agree. It's like, hey, right? Be nice. So I agree with this 110%. 110%. Okay? 110%. I say, hey, everybody calm down. Okay? I have no control over this. I was not the judge, nor the jury, nor anybody in that courtroom for the last 6 weeks. Okay? I'm here to conversate with you guys. I'm even sitting here saying, hey, this is going to embolden and solidify his campaign. Sure, Biden will use this to try to throw it under, try to throw him under the bus and make him look like Boo Boo the Fool. Okay? All right? But at the same time, I feel like because his superpower, okay, his talent is being able to spin stuff. He'll be able to spin this in the best way possible. But here's the thing, though. He won't have to spin nothing because I'm seeing it even in the chat right now. People so enraged at the chat because of where they stand for Trump. That's not a bad thing. That's just the fact of the matter. That's the kind of pull and influence that this man has still, even being out of the president's seat for the last 4 years. Let's not forget that. Okay. And I'm very interested, though, if this is going to be something that they go after on Hunter Biden, on on other political people as well. I'm just saying it's just very interesting because it can't just be on Trump. There's plenty of other politicians that have done illegals out here. And I'm wondering if I would hope that the buck isn't stopping here, that this continues on, right? But we'll see what happens, right? We will definitely see what happens, all right? We will see what happens. But let me grab this really quick. Just saying, thank you so much. Got to talk about these things. Yes, things. I know what you mean. It's typo. Thank you, Pascal. Yes. See, but this is why I don't do a lot of political conversation on this platform, because it gets people so angry. It gets people so mad. But this is a historical moment. I could not cover this. This is huge. Real talk. This is huge. Whether you like to hear that or not, this is huge. All right. So, of course, we got to talk about it, because this has a lot to do with what happens in the next couple months. How we're going to see Trump proceed on. What is, if he has probation, what his probation is going to be after he appeals and all that stuff, and which most likely will not go through. I'm just saying it won't. But what will happen from this point on? Anklet? Is it going to be anklet time? Or, is he going to be doing everything via chat like he's on lockdown? I'm just curious, right? Tipsy, thank you so much for gifting one membership. I really do appreciate it. Sharing is caring. And all I ask, the person who actually got the membership, that got gifted this membership, please pay it forward, okay? Do something positive for somebody, right? Open the door for somebody, buy somebody a cup of coffee, okay? Give somebody a hug, all right? Do something positive with that gift, all right? Or you can gift somebody else in the membership another one, right? Another membership. Gift that to somebody else, right? That'd be greatly appreciated. Carbonized, thank you so much. Strong together. Apes strong together. Don't know what that means, but appreciate the support. No matter what. People who are, it doesn't matter. Like I said, we are, at the end of the day, I don't know what that meant exactly, but I will say we are stronger together as a unit. Whether we agree to disagree, we all want things better for our country. We all want things better in our world. All right. And for a fact, the person who's in that seat, in that presidential seat, does a lot in the decisions that go on within the world as well. Right. So at the end of the day, it's important for us all to listen and figure things out. and not instantly lash out on each other. But that's the thing. That's what's so frustrating about all this, is that people are so quick to get so angry, and they're not even thinking thoroughly. And I'm not sitting here saying that you're dumb or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. So hold on, time out. All I'm saying is you're not seeing the forest through the trees. It's just instant anger because you hear somebody who you feel doesn't agree with your thoughts. And it's like, wait a second, hold on. We've had plenty of times where we've not seen eye to eye, even in true crime stories and cases. So I say, hey, let's understand that. Let us agree to disagree, because we are a stronger unit when we are together than when we are apart. And a lot of these things become so polarizing, and it's so frustrating. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't. We're just talking about the news. It's shocking. You've heard me a million times say that. Real talk. Melly, thank you so much. Pascal for president. Oh my God. I couldn't. But thanks. I appreciate that. Yay. I appreciate that. But no. Never. Okay. No. No. I will stand on the side. You know what I mean? But it is too stressful out here in these streets. Too stressful. Okay. Zoot coming in with some facts though. Good leaders foster unity, not highlight division. Yeah, man. Facts. That's hard facts. Hard facts. Okay? All day long. Okay? All day long. Okay? But yeah, like I said, this is crazy information. Wild information. Okay? I'm sure the Trump camp is extremely angry, devastated, but at the same time, this is not changing anything, in my personal opinion. It's only going to embolden his supporters, the voters, etc. And at the same time, guys, I mean, we are literally looking at two candidates, and a lot of people are not feeling that any type of way about Biden. So what do you think is going to be? Let's just be real. Even the people that voted for Biden before are now going, well, what does Trump have to say now? You know what I'm saying? Grass may have been greener on the other side. You see what I'm saying? So, just saying. I don't think it's going to change anything. Shoot, you had Amber, what's her name? Amber Rose in a photo with Trump being like Trump of 2024. And it blew up, like it destroyed the internet, like Black Twitter for like 2 seconds. And like, what? You know what I mean? Wow, Stormcat, really? You think I'm dividing our country further, Stormcat? That is extreme, yo. That is really extreme. Wow. Stormcat hasn't been listening, like at all. But okay, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Wow, not at all. Wow, that's crazy. See? Shoot, you talk political, you talk anything that has anything to do with anything polarizing, there's always somebody out there that's just coming out being like, rah! How dare you? I hate you. Meh. It's like, I didn't even do nothing. Have mercy. I'm just here to tell the story. Oh my God. People are funny. But remember, guys, we do have a poll. Okay. We do have a poll up at the top of the chat. So please put your thoughts in there, please, and thank you. And in fact, I'm going to go over to the live because this is all like about an hour or two ago. So I'm going to jump up to the live really, really quick just to see where we're at. If there's any updates, you know what I mean? Just to see what they got to say real quick. If there's new updates, let's take a listen to that. right quick.
Shift. Trump went from joking with his attorneys to sitting stone-faced, looking down as the jury read the verdict count by count. Prosecutors proving Trump falsified business records to conceal a $130,000 hush payment to porn actress Stormy Daniels to keep her story from voters before the 2016 election.
Hold on. I got to pause this really quick. You know, I am concerned. I don't know how this is going to affect the people out there too. I will say that. Okay. We remember what happened in the January thing. You know what I mean? There is a concern that there's going to be some sort of negative reaction, right? Instead of letting it just be what it is and just letting it roll and letting it do what it needs to do, right? And let him appeal and let him do what he needs to do. That's the one thing that I am a little worried about as well, that how the people are going to react to this as well. If the general, and I'm not sitting here saying the mass public, I'm saying just like a select group of people. You see what I'm saying? I am kind of concerned about the reaction to that. Instead of letting him appeal, letting him do all the legal BS that he needs to do, right? That's one thing I am kind of worried about. There being some sort of negative reaction to all this. But I digress. Let's continue.
The former president then marching out of the courtroom with his lawyer, Todd Blanche, by his side.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
And outside court, cheers could be heard in the crowd as news of Trump's conviction spread. The trial lasting 7 weeks, 22 witnesses taking the stand, including Trump's former fixer and lawyer Michael Cohen, who Trump's defense team called the greatest liar of all time. Cohen late today releasing a statement saying today is an important day for accountability and the rule of law. While it has been a difficult journey for me and my family, the truth always matters. And Stormy Daniels in a statement tonight saying no man is above the law. Trump seen leaving the courtroom late today, getting into his SUV, surrounded by security. Judge Juan Merchan thanked the jury for their handling of a very stressful and difficult task, saying, "You are excused," with the gratitude of the court. Court dismissed. The sentencing date for Donald Trump, July 11th, just 4 days before the Republican National Convention.
Our thanks to Aaron Katersky. And joining us now is Ty Cobb, former Trump White House attorney. Ty, thank you so much for joining us. You had predicted a guilty verdict all along. How did you come to that conclusion?
Nice to be with you, Lindsay. So I came to that conclusion in large part just based on my experience as a federal prosecutor for many years and a criminal defense attorney. The way the indictment was drafted and the way the evidence came in supporting that indictment and the jury instructions, really all basically dictated a guilty verdict. I think the issues with this case have always been more legal than factual, and we'll have to wait and see how this is treated by the various appellate courts. There's certainly serious due process issues with regard to the application of the statute, and notice and intent issues with regard particularly to the alleged crime that may have been covered up, whatever that crime may have been, between the election law cases, the tax cases, and the other record-keeping cases as they were explained to the jury. So I think this conviction was very predictable. I think it's likely to withstand appeal, but I think there are serious issues on appeal. But the conviction itself, I think the jurors did their work, took it seriously, and based on what they were told to do, they got it right.
I am kind of curious though. What is it that's going to be the issue that won't withstand an appeal? Like he just said, what Ty Cobb just said a second ago. Why is there going to be? Why would it be a difficult thing for him to appeal this properly? That's another question I have, that I wish I had, somebody who was, a political, or a lawyer, esquire extraordinaire to come in and just say what this says, right? But it's very interesting, right? It's very, very interesting. And I'm very curious as to why there would be issues, like why he wouldn't be able to have a successful appeal on all 34 counts. Could he possibly get half of them appealed and only have 17? You see what I'm saying? I'm kind of curious about all that. In what ways will he be able to have a successful appeal for all 34 counts? Something to think about.
You have a good sense of his personality and demeanor. How will this verdict impact Trump's professional relationship, most likely going forward with attorney Todd Blanche? Do you think that he would keep him on the team going forward for potentially an appeal?
He better. Blanche is one of the better lawyers on the team. Certainly a much better lawyer than Alina Habba. But Trump's going to be angry. He's going to be angry at Blanche. He's going to be angry at basically anybody who was in the building at the time the verdict happened. He'll be denigrating the jurors soon, in addition to the judge. But that's all short-term stuff. I think the reality is we have to just go down the road a little bit. He's got other serious legal matters, but none of those. I don't believe any of those will go to trial in advance of the election. And I think this is probably the most consequential legal event that will happen in advance of the election. And I think we should all take a minute back, step back, whether people are dancing in the street with people like Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels while they're expounding on the rule of law for some reason, or whether people are up in arms about it. Whether you're happy for Trump or grateful that he was convicted, reality is as Americans, we have to think about the fact that we're not a country where one of our former presidents has gone to court and been found a convicted felon. And I think that should be sad for all of us, and certainly says a lot about the country that we are. And more importantly, he's the leading candidate for the next presidential election, which I think we all should reflect on. And what does that say about America? I think it's sad that we have a choice like that. I think it's sad that we've come to this in history, and I think we really need to reassess what are we going to demand from leaders. Are we going to let people like this be our leaders, or are we going to up our standards to where the founders, I think, believed that they should be?
And you know what? I think that's a good place to kind of stop right there on that kind of conversation. Ty Cobb did say something a little bit ago that I think is very important for us to hear as well. No matter what side of the fence you sit on, there's a strong reality of one thing that we need to be rest assured on, is that just because these people are out here dancing in the streets, you know what I mean, does not change anything. It doesn't change that he's running for president. It doesn't change. Like the people who are out there going, yeah, ding dong, the witch is dead type thing. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't stop him from being able to run. It doesn't tarnish his image. It doesn't change anything. He is still going to be able to run. He is still going to be able to do whatever he needs to do. Unless, like I said, it would have to literally be some sort of curveball, huge curveball, for him not to be able to successfully run. But we do have people out here rejoicing, and sure, they could be happy about that about that verdict. They can rejoice over it. That's fine, but it still doesn't change anything. It's not putting a hitch in his giddy up. It's not putting a thorn in his side. It's not changing anything, guys. And I think that's what people need to make sure while they're celebrating, right? While they're celebrating, they need to realize that it's not over. Okay? It's literally not over. Period. That's just the truth of it all. Real quick, Tipsy. Whoa, thank you so much. Hey, Heist in the room. Thank you so much. I want to echo your words, Pascal. As controversial as chat is today, and we've had some controversial conversations over the past couple months. I mean, over the past couple years, let's be real. But yes, this is just like any other controversial day. You always say, be good to yourselves, be good to one another. It can't be said enough. Abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. I agree with that 110%. Okay. Yes, we all need to be loving to each other. Okay. I have friends on both sides of the spectrum. I got friends that are hardcore MAGA supporters, and I got friends that are not at all. Okay. It is very much important that we understand that we all coexist on this planet together, on this spinning blue marble, flying around this fiery ball called the sun, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. We all need to learn how to coexist together in some sort of peace and harmony. Justice, for some people, will look at this and say, or this verdict, some will say justice was served. Some will say this was an absolute rigged witch hunt and it's wrong. But I'm telling you right now, it's not going to change anything. Whether we are rejoicing in the streets or we are drowning our sorrows in a pint right now, it doesn't change anything. He could very well still successfully have a run for presidency. It doesn't change anything. And I think that we all need to remember that. We all have to remember that. And we got to see how this goes from this point on. He's got 30 days to appeal. November is still months away from now. It's not tomorrow. It's still months away from now. So anything is possible over the next couple months. But right now, from what we're seeing right now, it doesn't change anything. Even if he's in an orange jumpsuit behind prison bars, he's still going to run. Does that change his election, his campaign, or no? I kind of leave that up to you guys. In fact, I had 421 votes. I'm going to end it right there on the poll. It says, I said, do you think Trump's guilty verdict is going to ruin his 2024 presidency? 54% of you guys said, hell no. 23% of y'all said, hell, I really don't know. And 22% of y'all said, hell yeah. Well, hell no is 54% of y'all. Okay? And that says a lot. That definitely says a lot. Okay? That says a lot. Very interesting results indeed. And I feel like we're only going to find out more about this as time continues to move on. Like I said, how you feel about it is up to you guys. But I say, hey, don't take it out on the person next to you. Don't take it out on the people that are surrounding you that care or that are willing to carry a conversation on with you about these results. Hear them out, right? Hear them out. Keep that respect on the table. You might learn something from them, and vice versa. They might learn something from you as far as information. But don't take this and don't look back in anger, right? Don't take this out and turn this into something negative for the rest of your weekend or something like that. We all have better things to do with our Fridays and with our weekends, right? Filling it with positivity and letting this course run, right? Letting this run its doggone course. God knows only knows what's going to happen in the next 30 days. All this could be dropped in 30 days. You never know. Let's see what happens. Be patient. There's nothing we have control over. We don't have control over this situation. All we can do is sit and wait and see how this transpires, right? That's the only thing we can do. So I think we should do that and do it with a smile on our face, because we're not the ones dealing with that. We're not dealing with 34 counts. We're not. You're around people who love you. You're around people that care for you. And that's what you should be focusing on. Let Trump handle this and let him figure it out. Because you know for a fact, him and his team are going to figure this out. Trust me. And he's still going to run, guys. Like I said, ain't nothing going to change. He's still going to run. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really does mean a lot. Okay? We have these conversations. We have these controversial conversations every once in a while, a lot more than lately, a lot more than less lately. But at the same time, hey, we got to understand and learn to be able to speak to each other with respect and be able to agree to disagree and have discussions without trying to low blow each other in the chats. Or even the messenger, even the person who's just telling the news. It's pointless and gets us nowhere. In fact, it makes us go backwards, and that's not good. Again, I appreciate you guys for being here for real. It means a lot. I appreciate you guys. Please do me a favor, hit that like button down below. That would be amazing. All right. Hit that reaction button. If you're watching on other platforms, please and thank you. Please do not forget to crush that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. All right. Be sure to do that. That'd be greatly appreciated. Hit that follow button on my other platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Go over there. That'd be greatly appreciated as well. All right. And of course, if you want to support the channel, hit that join button down below. If you're watching on YouTube, become a member of the family, or go and check out Patreon, patreon.com/The Pascal Show. Like I said, we talk about a lot of stuff on this channel, a lot of stuff, especially when there's things that are historical like this. It is what it is, guys. But I'm telling you, he ain't done yet. So we'll see how things transpire from this point on. Anyway, guys, again, appreciate you being here. Have a great weekend. If I don't see you guys, have a safe one, okay? For those of y'all who are upset, go on with a smile on your face, because honestly, it ain't something that you have to worry about. Shoot. So enjoy your weekend and be around people that you love, all right? Anyway, it's time to get going. Much love to you guys. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. I'll see you guys soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.